My husband walked through our front door with a strange woman beside him, and the first thing I noticed wasn't her smile. It was the way he wouldn't look me in the eyes. That was the moment everything quiet inside me turned loud. The clatter of dishes in my hands, the soft hum of the refrigerator, even the ticking wall clock that usually blended into the background, suddenly it sounded like it was keeping score of something I hadn't caught on to yet. I remember I was standing in our kitchen, wiping down the counter, still wearing the floral apron my mother gave me back when I first learned how to keep house. My hair was tied back, my slippers worn down at the heel, just an ordinary Thursday evening. And then he walked in. "Baby, this is my sister, Alana," Marcus announced. Sister. I turned around slowly, dish towel still in my hand. And there she was, a slim woman in a charcoal gray dress, suitcase in hand, her eyes darting around the room like she was measuring the place. But what shook me wasn't her being there. It was the way she and Marcus exchanged a quick glance, one of those too fast, too familiar looks that feel like stepping on a shard of glass, a sting you can't place yet. I swallowed softly. "You never mentioned a sister." Marcus laughed, but it came out thin, like a curtain barely hanging on its rod. "It slipped my mind. It's, complicated." He rubbed the back of his neck. He always did that when he was lying. "She needed somewhere to stay for a while." The woman stepped forward with a polite smile. "Nice to meet you. Thank you for letting me stay." Her voice was warm, but her eyes, they didn't match. They were studying me, slowly, deliberately, like she had already memorized this moment 100 times before stepping into it. And right then, something tightened inside my chest. Not jealousy, not insecurity. Something deeper. Something like recognition, but of what I couldn't say. I gave a small nod. "Make yourself at home." But inside my mind, 100 tiny questions began stacking up, neat as folded laundry. Before that night, my life with Marcus wasn't perfect. No marriage is, but it was stable, predictable in the ways that make you feel safe. We'd been married 12 years, long enough to know the rhythm of each other's breathing at night, long enough to tolerate each other's bad habits, me leaving cabinet doors open, him leaving his socks anywhere but the hamper. I worked as a home health aide. Marcus was a security supervisor at the shipping depot. We weren't rich, but all our bills got paid, and every couple of months we'd treat ourselves to a dinner date, usually someplace with warm lighting and 2 small menus. That day had started like any other. Marcus kissed me quick before work, coffee breath warm on my cheek. "Love you, babe." "Love you too. Drive safe." He always drove the long way, said the route calmed him. I watched him pull out of the driveway like I always did, sipping the last of my coffee. Nothing, absolutely nothing hinted at the storm rolling toward me. Around noon, I ran errands, picked up fresh lemons from the corner store, stopped by the pharmacy for Marcus's back paint patches. The clerk asked how my day was going, and I said, "Good so far." Funny how we say things without knowing they're about to become untrue. By late afternoon, I was home cleaning, dinner simmering on the stove, red beans and rice, his favorite, humming along to an old R&B playlist. The sun was starting its slow slide down the sky, pouring gold into the living room. Everything was quiet, peaceful. And then the door opened, and in came Marcus and that woman. Marcus never brought anyone home without calling first, and certainly not someone who needed a place to stay. I glanced at the suitcase again. Medium-sized, worn edges, a small airline tag still hanging from the zipper with the name scribbled off, like someone didn't want it read. "Alana's had a tough time. She just needs a few days, maybe a week." A week. Funny how that word can feel like a pebble rolling downhill, small at first, but gathering speed. I forced a smile. "You're welcome to stay. I'll set up the guest room." "Oh, no need," Alana said quickly. But Marcus shot her a look, a warning one. That's when the first real alarm bell chimed in my chest. Not loud, not dramatic, more like the whisper of a draft slipping under the door. I nodded, walked toward the hallway. Right this way. Her steps followed behind me, soft but perfectly in sync with mine, like she was matching my pace on purpose. Halfway to the guest room, I felt her eyes on the back of my neck. Not curious eyes, eyes that knew something. When I opened the door and switched on the light, I stepped aside for her to walk in. She paused at the threshold. Her fingers brushed the doorframe, slow, almost affectionate, as if she was touching something she remembered, not something new. "This is perfect," she said. Her smile was polite, but her expression, it wasn't. And that's when it hit me. This woman wasn't acting like a guest. She was acting like she had the right to be here, like she had been here before. When I went back to the kitchen, Marcus was wiping invisible dust off the counter, something he only did when he was anxious. I walked over to him. "So," I said softly, "you want to tell me what's going on now?" Marcus tensed. Just a flicker, but I caught it. His shoulders stiffened, his jaw tightened, his eyes dropped to the floor like the truth weighed too much for him to carry. "It's just family stuff," he muttered. "Don't make it a big deal." A small, cold knot formed in my stomach. I had learned over 12 years of marriage that when a man says, "Don't make it a big deal," it's already a big deal. I opened my mouth to push a little more, but then Alana appeared in the doorway, leaning against the frame like she belonged there. "Dinner smells amazing," she said with a soft, warm tone, and Marcus exhaled, long, relieved, like she had rescued him from answering. That was the moment I knew this wasn't family. This wasn't a sister. Whatever story Marcus was hiding, that woman was woven deep into it. And I was standing at the edge of something I didn't yet understand. For the rest of that evening, the house felt off. Not loud, not chaotic, just off, like someone had rearranged the furniture by half an inch. And my body noticed, even if my eyes didn't. I set the table for 3, trying not to stare at Marcus, who kept stealing glances toward the hallway where Alana had disappeared to freshen up. He was nervous, not fidgety nervous, but the kind of tight, controlled nervousness men use when they're hiding something and hoping you won't poke too hard at the seams. I caught him checking his phone twice. No notifications. Still, he checked. When Alana finally came back into the kitchen, she moved with a quiet confidence, like she knew the layout of our house better than a woman who'd stepped into it less than an hour ago should. She reached straight for the drawer with the silverware, the right drawer. My breath stopped for a second. Marcus saw it too. His eyes widened before he quickly looked away. "Oh, just guessing," she said with a soft little laugh, noticing my stare. "Lucky me." Lucky or familiar? We sat down to eat. For a long moment, the only sounds were the clinking of forks, the low hum of the refrigerator, and the faint scrape of Alana adjusting her chair. She ate slowly, delicately, like someone who knew she was being watched. Marcus cleared his throat. "So, Alana, why don't you tell my wife a little about yourself?" My wife. He emphasized the words too much. Alana's smile tightened for just a breath. Then she placed her fork down, folding her hands like she was preparing a script. "Oh, there's not much to say," she began. "I lived in Atlanta for the past couple of years. Things got rough. Relationship ended, job ended, and here I am." A vague sob story. Conveniently vague. "What kind of job did you have?" I asked gently. She blinked. Once. Twice. "Administrative work." "What company?" She paused. "Too long. Just small ones." Temp work. Marcus jumped in. She's been through a lot. Let's not interrogate her. Interrogate. That stung, because the truth was I had been tiptoeing around my questions. Soft tone, gentle voice, open face. I was trying to make this easy. Still, he cut me off. Alana smiled sympathetically at him, her hand brushing his wrist under the table. Subtle, but not subtle enough for a wife. Marcus yanked his hand back a second too late. My stomach twisted. Something was wrong. Very wrong. After dinner, I washed up while they went into the living room. They spoke in low voices, too low, the kind that makes a woman's instincts crawl out of their sleep. I strained my ears, not ashamed of it. "You didn't tell him anything," Alana whispered. "No, and I won't. Just keep it cool." Keep what cool? My hands froze in the dishwater. Keep what cool? I dried my hands slowly, quietly, and stepped into the hallway. The moment my foot touched the wood floor, their conversation died instantly. Silence. A heavy, unnatural silence. When I walked into the living room, they were sitting far apart, too far, like high school kids who got caught before they could sit close. Marcus grabbed the remote. "Movie night?" We never had movie nights on Thursdays. But I nodded. Sure. I sat right between them. If they felt uncomfortable, neither said a word. Later that night, after everyone went to their rooms, sleep refused to come. I lay awake listening to the small, familiar noises of our house. The hum of the ceiling fan, the soft rustle of the curtains, the rhythmic creak of the floorboards as they settled. But then, around 1:30 a.m., I heard something unfamiliar. A soft creak. Footsteps. Too light to be Marcus's, too steady to be the house. I slipped out of bed, padding quietly toward the living room. A faint glow spilled from the kitchen. When I peeked around the corner, I froze. Alana was standing by the refrigerator, drinking water straight from the bottle. Our bottle. She had the fridge door open, the cool white light washing over her face. But it was her expression that stopped me. Relaxed. At ease. Like someone who lived here. She didn't look startled or embarrassed to be caught. Instead, she stared at me with a slow, knowing smile. "I've always been a night owl," she said softly. "Most people grab a glass," I murmured. She shrugged. "Old habit." I stepped closer. "She seems like she's done that here before." She didn't smile. Not even a crack. "Maybe in another life." "What?" Before I could ask, she set the bottle down, wiped her mouth with the back of her hand, a strangely intimate gesture, and walked past me. So close her shoulder brushed mine. She leaned in just enough for her words to hit only my ears. "You should get some sleep," she whispered. "Tomorrow will be a lot." "A lot of what?" She walked away without explaining. Her door clicked shut. And I stood there, in the cold glow of the fridge light, rooted to the floor. Her voice, her tone, her confidence. That wasn't how a guest talked. That wasn't how a sister talked. That was how someone talked when they believed they had a claim to something or someone. The next morning, Marcus left for work early, too early. He didn't kiss me goodbye, another deviation from routine. After he left, I brought fresh towels to the guest room. I wasn't snooping, I was doing what any good host would do. But when I opened the door, I stopped short. Her scent hit me immediately. Not perfume, Not lotion. Cologne. A warm, woodsy, distinctly masculine cologne I recognized instantly. Marcus's cologne. The same one he kept in the top drawer of our dresser. The same one he only used on special occasions. Why would she smell like him? I placed the towels down slowly, my heart beating faster now. On the nightstand sat her phone. Unlocked. A soft vibration buzzed. A message. Blocked number. No name. Just one sentence. Did he tell her yet? My entire body went still. My fingertips turned cold. Tell me what? Tell me who? Before I could read further, the bathroom door opened, and Alana stepped out wrapped in a towel. Her eyes drifted to her phone, and then to my face. Caught. Not caught snooping. Caught connecting dots she didn't want me to connect. She didn't snatch the phone. She didn't panic. She didn't blush. She smiled. Slowly. Smoothly. Like she had been waiting for this moment. Something wrong? She asked. I swallowed hard. I should get going. But when I stepped past her, she leaned in, again too close, and whispered, "You don't know the whole story yet, but you will." My legs trembled as I walked out of that room, because now I knew for certain. Marcus hadn't brought home a sister. He'd brought home a secret wrapped in a pretty dress, carrying a suitcase full of lies. And the real story behind her presence was only just beginning to unravel. The next few days were a blur of ordinary routines, stretched thin with tension. Marcus acted normal, too normal. His laughter at breakfast was just a bit too forced. His hand resting on mine lingered a second longer than it should. Alana floated through the house like she belonged, adjusting our cushions, straightening books on the shelf, rearranging the napkins in the kitchen drawer. Always helpful. Always too familiar. I told myself it was paranoia, that I was imagining things, that maybe I was just tired. But then came Thursday, the day everything shattered. I had returned home early from work. My shift had ended sooner than usual. The house was quiet, too quiet. I carried my bag to the living room and froze. Alana wasn't in the kitchen, not in the living room, not anywhere obvious. And then I heard it, the soft laughter of Marcus and someone else in the guest room. Not a normal laugh, not the comfortable, everyday laugh of a husband in a joke with his wife. This was intimate, private, the kind of laughter that leaves a third party frozen at the doorway. I stood there for a moment, holding my breath, trying to convince myself to step away, but the air seemed to pull me forward. The door cracked open just enough for a single sliver of sight, and I saw them. Marcus, smiling, leaning close, talking softly, and Alana, sitting on the edge of the bed, her legs crossed, hair falling over one shoulder. Their hands touched, lightly, but enough to make my chest tighten, my stomach knot. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. I wanted to curl up somewhere and disappear, but I couldn't. I needed to know. I stepped in quietly, pretending to have come in accidentally. "Marcus," I said, my voice steady but low. Both of them froze. Marcus's hand retracted as if burned. Alana sat up straighter, that calm, confident expression on her face untouched my guilt. "Hi," Marcus said, his voice trembling just slightly. "I didn't expect you home so early." I ignored him. My eyes went to her, Alana, his sister, supposedly. "You're not his sister, are you?" The words slipped out before I could stop them. Her smile didn't falter. In fact, it widened just a fraction. "Not exactly," she said softly, like she was telling me a secret that had been waiting a long time to be heard. I felt the air leave my lungs. What do you mean, not exactly? She shrugged, almost playfully. I mean, I'm the reason he comes home smiling these days. I'm the reason he leaves the house pretending to work late. I'm, she paused, glancing at him, the reason for everything you didn't see. I shook my head. I don't understand. He said you were his sister. You moved in here because... Why? Because, Alana began, her tone calm, almost teasing, because he wanted me close. You see, telling you I was a sister made it easier for me to stay here, for him to have me here without raising suspicion. The room spun. I wanted to speak, to demand answers, to scream, but my voice caught in my throat. Marcus stepped forward, his face pale. Maya, I didn't mean for it to go this far. We didn't know how to lie to your wife for months? I interrupted. My hand shook. How to destroy your marriage without even realizing it? Alana didn't move, didn't flinch. She simply watched me, calm, like a cat observing a mouse scrambling. I sank into the armchair, gripping the cushion so hard my knuckles turned white. My mind raced, flipping through months of mornings and evenings, searching for signs I had missed. Every lunch Marcus skipped, every late night he claimed to be working, every small gift she brought to help around the house. All lies. I felt anger burn low in my chest, a slow, insistent fire, betrayal, the betrayal of trust, of love, of the life I had thought I shared with Marcus. I can't believe this, I whispered. All this time, all of it. It's not like I planned to hurt you, Maya. I didn't come here to destroy a marriage. I came here because she glanced at Marcus, he needed me. And because, well, I wanted him too. I felt bile rise in my throat. My hand shook. You wanted him while knowing he was married? Her eyes were unapologetic. Yes, and he wanted me. And now, well, now we're here. I laughed, but it was hollow, sharp. Here at my house, in my bed, in my life, you're here. Not just visiting, not just passing through, here. Marcus ran a hand through his hair. Maya, please, just calm down. I can explain. No, I said, my voice firm now. I don't want explanations. I want the truth, and I just heard it. Alana leaned back, serene. The truth is, he's mine. And now you know. For a moment, the room held its breath. Me, Marcus, her, three people caught in a web of lies and stolen trust. I wanted to cry. I wanted to scream. I wanted to vanish. But more than anything, I needed to think. I needed a plan. Because if I didn't act, if I didn't reclaim my life, this betrayal would not only ruin my heart, but the rest of my world. And I refused to let that happen. For the rest of that day, I moved like a ghost inside my own home. Marcus kept following me from room to room, trying to explain, stumbling over apologies that meant nothing. And Alana? She simply walked around, confident, barefoot, humming softly as if she hadn't just detonated my life with a smile. I didn't cry. Not yet. My tears were waiting for privacy. When night fell, I went into the bathroom, locked the door, and let everything collapse. I slid down the wall to the cold, tiled floor, holding myself tightly as if my arms could keep me from shattering. My husband's betrayal pressed against my chest like a weight made of iron. The humiliation, the deception, the audacity of that woman sitting in my house claiming him as hers. But beneath the pain, something else woke up. A fire. Quiet. Controlled. Steady. I realized something important. I couldn't fall apart in front of them. Not yet. If I wanted to save my dignity, my future, my life, I needed a plan. Not screaming, not begging, not waiting for them to decide my fate. I needed to think like a woman who refused to be broken. So when I stepped out of the bathroom that night, I had washed my face and steadied my breathing. Marcus looked up immediately from the couch. "Maya, can we please talk? I owe you the truth." "No," I said firmly. "Not tonight. You've said enough." He shrank back, and I walked past him without waiting for a reply. At the dining table sat Awana, with a cup of tea, my cup, the one with tiny blue flowers along the rim. She held it lightly between her fingers, her posture relaxed, as if she hadn't just detonated my life with a smile. "Rough night?" she asked softly. I stopped walking, slowly turned my head toward her. "Be careful," I said. My voice was calm, even, but it chilled the air between us. A flicker of surprise crossed her eyes, just the flicker, before that infuriating serenity returned. "I'm not the enemy, Maya. Marcus just loves differently than you think." "He loves differently?" I repeated. "Is that what you call sneaking, lying, and sleeping with someone else?" She shrugged. "He loves us both." "No," I said. "He used us both." And with that, I walked to the bedroom and shut the door before she could respond. A plan forms. The next morning, Marcus left for work early, his voice small, defeated, afraid. Good. Alana stayed behind. She always did. She walked into the kitchen as I was preparing tea. "You still seem tense," she said, leaning against the counter casually. I didn't look at her. "You're still in my house." "I won't be for long," she said lightly, swirling the spoon in her cup. "Marcus and I are figuring things out. You'll know soon." I paused. "So that's your strategy. You move in, take over, push me out?" "It's not pushing you out if you leave on your own." My jaw tightened, but I forced calm into my voice. "Let's see who leaves." She raised an eyebrow. "Is that a threat?" "No," I said, taking a slow sip of tea. "It's a promise." Her smile faltered. For the first time since she walked into my house, she looked unsure. I gathered evidence. When she left to shower, I moved quickly. Months ago, I would have felt guilty searching through my own home, but guilt was a luxury I could no longer afford. I checked Marcus's office drawer, his briefcase, his pockets, and there it was, a second phone, hidden under files, tucked away like something precious. I unlocked it with his usual passcode. My hands shook. As I scrolled, messages, pictures, voice notes, plans, all between him and Alana. She wasn't his sister. She wasn't even a distant relative. She was someone he'd met almost 2 years ago during a business trip. Someone he kept visiting. Someone he financed. Someone he had promised a future with after he figured out what to do about Maya. I felt my heart tear in half. But instead of crying, I took pictures, screenshots, anything useful. My hands moved fast, automatic, while my mind went quiet and cold. Confrontation in the kitchen. When Alana came back downstairs, wearing my robe, yes, my robe, she found me sitting calmly at the table with the second phone placed between us. Her eyes widened. "Where did you—" "You're not as clever as you think," I said, leaning back. She swallowed. "I don't know what Marcus told you, but I never wanted to hurt—" "Save it," I cut in. I know everything now. She stepped forward, gathering fake confidence. Then you know he chose me. No, I said. My voice was razor sharp. He didn't choose anyone because I'm about to choose for us all. Her expression cracked. For the first time, she was afraid. You think you can push me out of my own life? You think you can steal my husband, my home, my peace? No. You stepped into the wrong woman's house. She opened her mouth, but my voice cut through the air like a blade. Pack your things. She stared at me. I'm not going anywhere, she whispered. Yes, I said, standing tall. You are, before Marcus returns, because trust me, you don't want to see what happens if I make him choose. For the first time since she walked into my front door, Alana had no smile, no confidence, no control, just silence. And I stood there, unbroken, stronger than the night before, because this time, I wasn't the one afraid.
Marcus's footsteps echoed faintly on the stairs before he even opened the front door. I had timed everything perfectly. Alana had no idea what was coming, and I intended to keep it that way. The door clicked. He stepped inside, briefcase in hand, and immediately froze when he saw the second phone lying on the dining table, with its screen still lit, displaying messages he never imagined I would see. Alana's eyes darted between us, her composure crumbling. "Maya," he started, voice tight, unsure. "I can explain." I raised a hand. "No explanations, not yet." He swallowed, glancing at Alana, then back at me. "It's not what you think." I let out a soft laugh. "Not what I think. Marcus, you've been lying to me for 2 years. 2 years of lies, hidden calls, secret meetings. You brought a stranger into our home and called her family. Do you know what that feels like?" My voice shook with controlled anger, the kind that cuts deeper than screaming ever could. "Do you know how it feels to watch your husband smile at someone else while pretending I don't exist?" Alana shifted uncomfortably, finally breaking the ice. "I didn't—" "Quiet," I snapped. "Both of you." He took a step forward. "Maya, I love you. I never wanted it to hurt you." I shook my head, disbelief and fury mixing together. "Love? This is what love looks like? Secret phones, hotel meetings, late-night calls, stolen weekends? Tell me, Marcus, when you whispered to her, did you whisper my name or hers?" His eyes flickered with shame, guilt, and a cowardly deflection all at once. It was complicated." "Complicated," I repeated. "Complicated as buying groceries on a rainy day. Complicated as forgetting a birthday. This," I gestured toward Alana, who shrank back into a corner of the kitchen, "this is betrayal." Alana finally found her voice trembling. "I didn't force him. He chose me." I leaned closer to her, whispering with deadly calm. "And you think that gives you the right to step into my life, to sit in my home, in my robe, drinking my tea? You think that gives you the right to replace me?" Her lips parted, her face paling. She wanted to argue, but words failed her. She hadn't anticipated facing someone who wasn't crying, pleading, or begging. She hadn't anticipated me. I turned my attention to Marcus and said, "You brought her here for what reason? For convenience? For what?" I demanded. "Explain to me why you thought I'd just accept a stranger in my home, pretending to be family." His shoulders slumped. I thought you'd understand. That you'd forgive me." I laughed again, this time softer, bitter. "Forgive you? You didn't ask to be forgiven. You wanted me to ignore it, pretend it didn't exist. Well, Marcus, I can't ignore it, and I won't. He looked down, a man realizing his mistakes were bigger than he could control. Alana finally moved closer to the door, trying to keep some dignity intact. I said calmly but firmly, "Pack your things, both of you. I'm giving you until the end of the day." Alana's eyes widened. "You do not test me," I interrupted. "I've taken a lot of steps to handle this quietly, with tact, but I will not hesitate to make this public if you push back. I will tell everyone what you've done, Marcus. I will tell your family. I will tell your colleagues. And Alana," I leaned in slightly, my voice low, deadly precise, "I will make sure your reputation is in pieces if you try to stay." Her posture faltered completely. Fear replaced arrogance. The hum of confidence she had carried for months was gone in a single moment. I had stripped her of her illusions, and now she realized she was vulnerable, exposed, and powerless. Marcus muttered something incoherent, and I simply stared at him, letting the silence do its work. The silence carried judgment heavier than any words I could say. By noon, I had organized evidence, the hidden messages, the receipts, and even photos from his trips that proved they weren't business-related. I stored everything in a folder on my laptop. Everything was documented. Alana left the house quietly that afternoon, dragging her bags behind her. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't watch her go. I let her leave on her own, knowing that the humiliation she felt would follow her wherever she went. She would remember that I had not been a weak woman. She would remember that she had walked into the wrong house. Marcus tried to stay, tried to apologize, tried to plead. But I kept him at a distance. No hugs, no tears, no discussion, until I was ready. For the first time in years, I held control. I was no longer a victim. And that night, as I sat alone in the living room, sipping my tea, I felt something I hadn't felt in months, a quiet sense of peace. Not the naive peace of before, but a stronger, sharper kind. I knew I had faced betrayal head on, and I had survived it. I had won not through vengeance, but through clarity, through calm, and through owning my power.
By the next morning, the quiet in the neighborhood had shifted. Even the birds seemed to chirp differently, as though the world sensed the tension that had erupted behind our front door. I didn't need to broadcast what happened. Word traveled faster than I ever could have imagined. First came the subtle whispers from the neighbors. "Did you hear about Marcus? I saw Alana leaving his house yesterday." Their curiosity was palpable, but I stayed calm, letting the natural ripple of truth do its work. There was no need for me to scream it from the rooftops. Reality had its own voice, and it was loud enough. At work, a few colleagues approached me, hesitant, almost nervous. I could see the mix of sympathy and gossip in their eyes, but I didn't flinch. I answered politely, without over-explaining, letting the situation speak for itself. My dignity remained intact. That mattered more than satisfying their curiosity. Later that afternoon, my mother-in-law, Seema Auntie, called. Her voice was heavy with concern. "Maya Beta, what happened? Everyone is talking." I took a slow breath, steadying myself. "Auntie, I handled it. I asked both of them to leave. Marcus and Alana. They're gone." There was a pause. Then she sighed. "You did the right thing, Maya. You always have a strong heart. Don't let anyone make you doubt yourself." I smiled softly, touched by her support. It reminded me that strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers quietly, through calm decisions and unshaken resolve. By evening, the story had reached Marcus's family. Calls, messages, inquiries, they came from every direction. His mother was shocked, his father embarrassed, and relatives began questioning how he let someone like Alana infiltrate our lives. I answered once, briefly, then let them process it. I didn't need to explain the details to everyone. The facts were clear, and his actions spoke louder than any words I could utter. Marcus attempted to salvage his reputation among his friends and colleagues. He tried the usual excuses. I made a mistake. It wasn't what it looked like. We never intended to hurt anyone. But people saw through the polished lies. His credibility had eroded. The same circles where he once held authority and trust now treated him with cautious distance, a polite wariness that stung far deeper than any confrontation I had staged. Alana tried to reach out too, thinking perhaps a short apology or a feigned remorse could salvage her image. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Social consequence has a way of teaching lessons in a far more permanent manner than words. She discovered that no one wanted to align themselves with someone who had crossed boundaries so casually, someone who had stepped into another person's home and life as though it were theirs to take. By the time the weekend arrived, Marcus had begun the slow, bitter process of facing the fallout. Colleagues who had once admired him now kept a polite distance. Friends who had called regularly suddenly had busy schedules. Even his family looked at him differently, weighed down by disappointment and the silent judgment of relatives who had always expected better. I watched from a distance, no satisfaction in cruelty, only a recognition of justice. Truth has a way of making itself felt, and it had done its work. Meanwhile, I had begun the subtle task of reclaiming my home. It was more than furniture and walls. It was my sanctuary. I rearranged the living room, added fresh flowers to the table, and opened the windows to let in the afternoon sun. Every corner that had been touched by deceit now felt alive again, vibrant with possibility. I allowed myself to breathe fully for the first time in months, free from the shadow of secrets, betrayal, and hidden lives. A neighbor stopped by with a small bouquet. She said, "I just wanted to check on you. I'm glad you handled it the way you did." I accepted the flowers with a gentle nod. Thank you. It wasn't easy, but it needed to be done. Her eyes lingered on me. You're strong. Many wouldn't have had the courage. I smiled faintly. Strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it's calm, measured, and persistent. That night, as I closed the door behind me and sat in the quiet of my bedroom, I reflected on how swiftly life can shift. Betrayal can arrive in the form of a stranger posing as family. Lies can infiltrate even the warmest homes. But truth has its own momentum, and when met with patience, clarity, and self-respect, it can restore balance. I allowed myself a small smile, a private acknowledgement that I had preserved not only my home, but my integrity. Marcus and Alana would carry their consequences, and I would carry mine, not as a victim, but as someone who refused to be diminished, even when faced with deception so close to the heart. I realized then that public consequence was only one part of justice. The deeper victory was personal, reclaiming the narrative of my life, reasserting my dignity, and setting boundaries that no one could cross again.
The days after the confrontation felt almost surreal. The house, once heavy with unspoken tension and silent betrayals, gradually began to breathe again. I would wake to sunlight spilling across the curtains, the familiar scent of morning coffee filling the kitchen, and realize that nothing had broken me, not truly. The betrayal had been painful, yes, but it had also been clarifying. I started with small things, reclaiming my routines that had been disrupted. I cooked more intentionally, setting the table with the care I had always taken, letting the aroma of cinnamon and cardamom remind me that home is more than walls. It's the energy you bring into it. I spent more time in the garden, letting my hands sink into the soil, planting flowers that would bloom over the coming weeks. Each bud was a quiet affirmation. Life moves forward, even after heartbreak. Work became my sanctuary as well. I threw myself into caring for patients with renewed focus,
finding a quiet strength in service. Every smile I received, every word of thanks, reminded me that the world still held beauty and trust, even if one person had betrayed it. Family became an even deeper source of support. My mother-in-law, Seema Auntie, was my constant companion during those weeks. We shared long evenings over tea, reminiscing about old stories, laughing over mishaps, and speaking candidly about the events that had shaken our lives. She didn't offer empty reassurances. Instead, she gave me perspective. Maya Beta, you cannot control what others do, but you can control how you rise afterward. Her words echoed in my heart, reminding me that strength is not measured by resistance to pain, but by the grace with which you move through it. I also reached out to friends I had unintentionally neglected over the years, the ones who knew me before the shadows of betrayal touched my home. I realized how much connection, laughter, and shared vulnerability can heal wounds that no confrontation or punishment ever could. I began to see that rebuilding life isn't just about restoring what was lost. It's about creating something new, infused with wisdom and resilience. Marcus and Alana faded from my immediate reality. I allowed the consequences they faced in the public sphere to stand without my interference. It was enough that they bore the weight of their choices. My focus was now on the world I could nurture, the home I could inhabit with peace, and the relationships that mattered. I learned that sometimes healing is about letting go, not seeking vengeance. One afternoon, I paused in the living room, sunlight streaming through the blinds. The space felt warm, inviting, a sanctuary that reflected both loss and recovery. I thought about how I had questioned my own judgment, my ability to see through the facades that had entered our home. But I realized that wisdom often comes in moments like this, not in preventing betrayal, but in choosing how to respond when it occurs. I had acted with clarity, patience, and dignity. That, I knew, was a victory far greater than any retribution. I also allowed myself to reflect on forgiveness, not in the sense of excusing the wrongs, but in releasing their hold over my emotional state. Each morning, I breathed deeply, feeling the tension loosen from my shoulders. Each night, I thanked myself for enduring, for protecting my integrity, and for refusing to let the actions of others define my worth. And gradually, I noticed a subtle shift in my spirit. Where once there had been fear and suspicion, now there was calm confidence. I moved through the world with a quiet assurance, knowing that my life's narrative was mine to write. I had weathered the storm, confronted deception that had come too close, and emerged with my dignity intact. That, I realized, was the essence of true strength. Life did not suddenly become perfect, no one's does, but it became authentic. The walls of my home carried no whispers of deceit, only the warmth of sunlight, laughter, and the aroma of meals lovingly prepared. And in that authenticity, I found a sense of peace I had never known before. Peace, I realized, is not the absence of pain, but the mastery of it. Sometimes I sit by the window in the evenings, watching the soft glow of the streetlights spill over the quiet street, and I think about how fragile trust can feel and how strong it truly makes you when you reclaim it. Betrayal is heavy, yes, but it also reveals what matters most: your integrity, your courage, and the relationships you choose to nourish. I learned that protecting your heart doesn't mean building walls around it. It means knowing when to open your eyes, when to speak, and when to walk away with dignity. I also discovered that life has a way of teaching lessons gently, if only we pay attention. The woman my husband brought into our home under false pretenses taught me more about myself than she ever could have about him. I learned I am stronger than my fear, wiser than my doubts, and capable of creating a life that is honest, safe, and deeply my own. Healing doesn't happen overnight, but it begins the moment you decide that your peace is more important than proving someone else wrong. I've found that in letting go of anger, in nurturing myself, and in investing my energy in the people and things I love, I could reclaim not only my home, but my sense of self. And that, I realized, is worth more than any victory of revenge. So, I leave you with this. Trust your instincts, hold your values close, and remember that betrayal can teach you about strength, love, and the life you deserve. Would you have confronted him the way I did, or walked away silently? Think about that for a moment. And if this story touched your heart, please share your thoughts in the comments.